Hey everyone, I'm Sabrina, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. I am one of the co-founders of Calm Collective, a virtual talk series where we host conversations surrounding mental health in Asia. So today we've actually teamed up with the People's Association Youth Movement to co-present this special talk on how to take care of your mental well-being. I think it's something that's been on all of our minds, especially given the COVID-19 pandemic situation. And this evening, we're delighted to have Narelle and Benjamin Kheng join us. So Narelle, Benjamin, if you would like to join us at any time soon, please join us. Thank you so much. Hello. So yeah, hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Good
so happy to
evening.
see you. Yeah, I'm sure everyone knows and is already familiar with them. So having started as half of the Sam Willows, both Narelle and Benjamin have come into their own as established actors and musicians, and they've also made it into 2019's Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia list. In addition, in addition, Ben and Narelle are also two of the few public figures in Singapore that have spoken so openly about their mental health. And we're really grateful for that. So just before we begin, some housekeeping. Ben and Narelle will have some time to answer your questions towards the end of our chat. So feel free to share your questions in the Q&A section just below. It's just below if you're on Zoom webinar. If you're on Facebook live stream, join us next time.
Facebook live stream, let's go.
Yeah, we're both on Facebook and we are on Zoom. So those of you in the Zoom room, you're the special
Zoom room.
Zoom room. Yep. So hello. Hi Ben. Hi Narelle.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing? How's it been, these past few months?
Like that, law.
Excitement.
Slide it.
Like that. Can you tell me more about what like that means?
I think the buzzword is pivot, right? We've all been pivoting. It's been nice to see everyone pivot or not pivot. I feel like I'm catching up with everybody online. I haven't seen Narelle in very, very long, so this is nice. We have to do our job together. Sorry, was that?
We voted together.
We voted together. That's right, we did. We voted for the future of Singapore.
Good. Did our part.
But if not, like, it's just been good to kind of like see everyone sort of band together or not band together online. It's been an interesting time. So yeah, I think it's a good time to also talk about like mental health, what it means to each of us individually as a group, all that stuff.
Yeah. And Narelle, the last time we caught up, I think that was it before phase 2 or was it at the start of it?
Just at the start of phase 2.
Just at the start.
We were kind of crawling out of our hole at that time.
Yes. Yeah. How have you been since then? How has it been going for you?
Phase 2 is quite interesting. It's definitely been a bit hesitant, right? You don't know when you can go out, and every time, like even if you meet people, you're like, oh, don't we hug? Do we stand apart? And stuff like that. But I've still been trying to stay in as much as I can, like not trying to travel excessively. But somehow it got busy real quick, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, so I mean, thanks again for joining this chat today. And I know that both of you have had your own experiences with mental health. Maybe we can actually start off the conversation and go deep into that topic by sharing more about what your relationship is with mental health and even mental illness. Maybe Ben, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah, I think like everyone else, it's an ongoing thing. I'm just okay. Like on the surface, like I am such a bad procrastinator, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but I can do things like I would just be in bed for like half the day. I think Narelle can relate. You just get stuck there and you're like, what is wrong with me? Am I just sad? Am I just like lazy? I think there's a lot of deeper things, deeper undercurrents. And I did get a diagnosis. At one point, I realized I did have a mood disorder because I had these prolonged periods of like extreme sadness, and I'd be like, why am I sad? Am I just an emo boy, sad boy? Or is there something that I can get treated, right? So I kind of went down that rabbit hole, explored it. And yeah, I got to a point where obviously I understood it as, a mood disorder, had some mood stabilizing medicine and a bit of psychotherapy, lots of exercise and good food. And I am less sad now. uh, I still am, it's still symptomatic, comes once in a while. Being stuck at home sometimes is not the easiest thing, but I am glad to say that I am more out of the woods than before.
Yeah, that's
Yay.
fantastic. And and how about you, Narelle? How has it been for you? What keeps you,
Yeah.
going on a regular day?
I mean, firstly, I just want to say hi to everyone, and also like thank you for joining us on a conversation on mental health. And I guess we're not just talking about illnesses, we're also just talking about general well-being and the concept of paying more attention to your mental state, your emotions, your triggers, and just learning how to take care of our soul a little bit. I think that's kind of right, like what mental well-being is all about. And this is something that only kind of came into prevalence in my life probably like the last 2 years, only because before that, while I was experiencing a lot of emotion, you don't have this thing where you like look at your emotion very clearly. You just think that they're just things that you experience, and you go through life like happy, sad, excited, crazy, but there's not an extra pair of eyes to look back and be like, why am I extremely happy? Why am I extremely sad? Is there anything that is bugging me? So I mean, I had to start paying more attention only because for me personally, it got to a point where it was really, really bad, and I had no choice but to go and learn and to dig into all these issues. But since then, it's been insanely fruitful. I think just learning like new vocabulary, learning to understand what works for you, what doesn't, what makes you happy, has been awesome. And I feel like ever since I started doing that, I have found so much more confidence and so much more pride in who I am. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you actually learn the vocabulary around like, self-care or mental health? And did you have anyone to actually talk to about this? How did you go about your like learning journey?
Well, I guess it kind of starts off by Googling the most simplest way. Why am I sad? Or I am super sad. Or why so sad? And then from there, you kind of like read more things and you latch on. You're like, oh, okay, like depression. Like, what is that? Then you read, okay, depression. And then you read, oh, bipolar. What is that? And then you read into that. So it's a very slow journey, but it's also very fun because diving into like Bellatrix. Psychiatrics are strange. Sorry, it's not late, but yeah, is
like all the labels and like not labels, but when you like start digging into diagnoses and getting a clearer understanding, I think you start. When you start understanding the science behind it, it helps a lot more.
It's like how when we first learned what happy and sad and angry was as kids, it made sense, Now we just have more complex definitions, I guess.
Yeah. So amongst your like social circle, who do you do for to talk about these things? Do you talk to like a partner, a pet, family? Maybe Ben?
You want to go, Ben?
This way for me?
Who do I talk to?
Yeah.
Definitely not anyone on TikTok. Or Facebook or Instagram. We talk about how like, you want a safe space, and sometimes thankfully Narelle has always been a great resource for me. Family might not be a safe place for you sometimes, but again, family is kind of, I feel like, what you make it. And I really think that you'd find that people have a much bigger heart than you give them credit for. People are way more compassionate. And for me, it's always been like, my partner, my fiance, close friends, and just people I know who like have the best intentions for me. I think the hardest step, especially for guys, is to just voice out, that they're not okay. Because there's always this fear, right, of like actualizing it. Like for the longest time, I would be like, yeah, fine. Like the guy thing. How are you? Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's just,
yeah,
like that, law. Like exactly what I said today.
That's what you said. That's how we started.
Oh shit. But it's like the fear of saying it out, of articulating it, is there because we fear the moment we say it, I'm sad, I'm not well, I'm embarrassed, I'm guilty, that actualizes whatever we're feeling. It almost makes it tangible. That's very, very scary. But it's not that big of a monster as you think it is. That's the first step, right? So like, and we can dive deeper and unpack that, for like different genders, different circumstances, social media, all that. But yeah, people are way more receptive than we think. People who are close to us, a simple like I'm not in the best place right now can open up a great conversation. I think. Yeah.
So like maybe so if you suspect that a guy friend is struggling with with something in their lives, how do you actually encourage to
Yeah.
open up? Like,
Man.
it's hard. I understand it's hard even from what I see with my dad, he's like never gonna say he's not okay.
Yep. Yep.
But, like have you successfully managed to get the conversation going?
Okay, I think the first thing is that herd mentality is really real with guys, especially if you get a group of guys, like the testosterone goes through the roof. Like you're not gonna get a conversation about emotions. Again, I feel like guys were very reluctant to speak up when we're in a group. So I think the most important thing, especially if you are also a dude talking to another dude, or if you have a guy in your life that you want to really reach out to, have some one-on-one time with that person for sure. Really, really single them out. And this is also, I feel like, a thing when you want to talk to people going through it, guy or girl, or whatever you identify with. Like, set time aside with no distractions. Put the phone away, because that can be a source of a lot of that. And really, like, you need to be in a good, safe space. I think also, like, getting past that, hey man, how are you, man? What's going on? How are you? Like, really ask twice, because guys are always gonna go like, yeah, I'm okay. You go like, no, bro, like, how are you really? I think that's a bit of pressure that is useful. And also on the flip side, I feel like men's awkward meter, we get pretty sensitive. And there was a study in the US that showed that 40% of men have a negative experience when they end up talking about their mental well-being. They feel like they're not being understood. People judge them, or people feel like they're advice vending machines and they just hit them with advice. I would say, like, don't diagnose them, because unless you're a mental health expert, and if you're not, just listen. I think really listen, and just give them that safe space. I'd also say, like, when you want to ask them questions, keep it open-ended. Like, really tell me how you're feeling, and just be a good listening ear. Guys want to talk, but it gets us there. We're like a heavy door in a cafe. You got to push hard, but we're inside. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys want to talk, but people also want to give advice. Maybe.
Look, I just mansplained. I mean, this is just my point of view. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
But
No,
I think every guy's.
Everyone. It sounds like guys are just like everyone else. Like, they just want to be listened to as well.
We're all a different snowflake.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But okay. Well. Okay. So that's how, I guess, that's the take on guys. How about, like, Narelle? What do you turn to, or who do you turn to work through any difficulties that you have?
I guess it's really important to find the people that are going to be like kind of your buddy through situations. And the funny thing is, it's like it kind of shifts, right? Like, sometimes there are issues that you want, like, for example, some issues, like, I know I want to go to Ben, and I know, like, he's the only person in this world that will understand exactly what I need in that second. And sometimes maybe it's an issue that I don't want to bring to Ben, and then I think of this girlfriend that has been there with me for a long time, and she would understand that. So I think, in some sense, trusting your instinct. There are some times where I feel really lonely, and I sit there and I think, like, oh man, like, there's no one right now that I want to talk to. Like, I try and feel it out, and I just, like, feel walls around me. And then that's kind of where I just start shooting random things. I just text random people, like, hi, how are you? Hi. But as Ben was saying, like, the key thing is the moment you feel like you're closing up and you're starting to go into your shell, just do anything, talk to anyone, call someone out for a drink, and I think it is a process of learning how to open up yourself. Like, whether you're a guy or you're a girl, like, you can't go into a conversation and expect the person to fix it for you, or expect them to understand what you're feeling. If you want to talk, you need to, like, have it laid out in your head to be like, okay, I'm just going to blurt it out. I'm just going to say, I'm going to say it now. guys, I'm sad, you know, or something. And don't be afraid. Like, I mean, another thing that I use with my friends that is actually quite interesting, I don't know if it's related, but sometimes we have like code words or emojis. So like last time with one of my good friends, who she and I would struggle through a lot of these situations together. And sometimes when you are in a hole so often that you're like kind of, you know, you don't, I mean, this is specifically more about depression, but like it makes you not want to tell people because you don't want to be a burden, or you don't want to feel like you're a drag, or like you think that people don't care. So our code word used to be the sinkhole emoji, like literally just a hole that goes into the ground. And when I feel like crap in the morning, I'll just like spam, and then I send her, and I don't need to say a word. Like she knows exactly how I'm feeling, and immediately she's like, okay, get out of the bed, go get some nice coffee, you know, put on some nice music, and if I say I don't want to, she said, okay, let's lie in bed then. Like how do you feel today? You know?
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think what you're saying here is that, what I'm hearing is that, you know, your friend is just someone that you can turn to, you know, as a safe space, as a harbor for, and they know how to kind of give you the right advice or the right push.
And I think sometimes as well, we just want a little bit of support, you know, like it's not that we can't handle the situation, but sometimes we feel lonely or we feel scared. And just for someone to just get in and be like, I know you can do it. Then I'll be like, okay, cool. I think I can.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Okay. So another question here. So what kind of advice, Ben, has been the most useful? Because I mean, we talked about advice, right? But I'm sure some of them has been like really helpful for you. So what has been the most useful or helpful for you personally in, you know, getting out of a rut or getting out of bed?
Man, there's no, you know, master key or, you know, one size fits all, because everyone is a, you know, very
Everyone is
beautiful, different lock.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think, well, I can speak for myself, you know what I mean? Like, I think a big trigger for me is music. Like it or not, it is my career. And so I have to really carve out a little space in my heart and my soul and my mind to keep it personal, you know, because it is a commodity for me. But music is beautiful universal language, and I usually have playlists for almost anything. I think that, okay, actualizing your thoughts, right? Like writing it down, journaling. A lot of guys will have problems with that, but putting it out into writing, into a tangible thing, holding it in front of you, you know, it's like this sort of displacement thing, but then you kind of look at your emotions that way, you know, like it's almost like this out of body experience. I'm depressed, I'm sad, or you're looking at it this way, kind of helps you not compartmentalize it, you know, but understand it for what it is. It's the same way how if someone has bipolar disorder, they don't say I am bipolar, they say like I have bipolar disorder. It's allowing yourself to, you know, create a new narrative and a different definition, and owning who you are, that you can accept these emotions for what they are. I am a man with emotions, and then putting it aside. You know, I think also as I've grown into my skin of being an emotional guy, you know, or quote unquote unmanly man, I think it's also allowing myself to feel certain moments of sadness and go like, okay, here's a timer. I'm going to allow myself literally 1 or 2 hours of just being in bed and being nothing, you know, and then I'm going to get up and go do something. Having a good balanced lifestyle, as, you know, cheesy as it sounds, getting a good diet in, good sleep, good exercise, like, oh my goodness, it's like such a lifesaver. Endorphins are a big real thing, you know, so I would definitely recommend those things too.
And endorphins, I'm guessing from like exercise and, you know, simple stuff like that, you know.
Yes.
So I actually have a question coming in from Samantha from our audience. So Narelle and Ben, as someone who has or as people who have been performing for quite some time, there's always pressure to meet the industry standard of beauty. How do you not let the pressure affect your self-esteem? And there's also another one on social media. So let's put that together. So social media, beauty, how do you stay grounded amidst all of that?
Narelle?
Yeah.
Would you like to answer that
Want to
question?
say?
Sure. Okay. I mean, that is a huge point. And I think like it's not just whether you're a performer, I think in general, like with the whole expectations of beauty in our society in general, like people tend to feel inferior, and does weigh on a lot of girls' minds, and guys too, and in between. But you know, I think for me at least, like it's a lot about finding what you love about yourself, and that took a really long journey. I mean, I think there will be people out there that look at Ben and I and think like, oh, you guys like look great because we have makeup, we have stylists and stuff. But for a long time, I would look at myself and always think that I look terrible, like literally always looks terrible. And then, but a few years later, when I look back, I'm like, hey, that was a nice time. And the way that I feel about that photo is like two completely different ways, such that it came to a point when I was like, no matter how shitty I feel about how I look, the feeling shitty is affecting my life more than not. Okay, I know Ben's confused. Let's take that one more time.
Let's draw a mind graph. Feeling shitty.
So, okay, the feeling shitty about how I look affects my life more than the fact that I was actually looking slightly shitty. So if I had eye bags that day and I felt like I didn't want to look someone in the face, or I didn't want to be shot, like the feeling that I had and the fact that I cooled myself down from it affected my life way worse than the fact that I had damn eye bags on the day. Who cares? You know what I mean? And the truth is that we will always have these feelings of inadequacy, but I think realizing that it's not helpful and it's just not worth it to feel bad about yourself, and that just makes me feel like I put it on the back burner instead. It's okay to have these feelings, but just put them away and be like, I don't need to pay attention to that. I rather think about how happy I am to be with my friends today. Yeah.
How did you make that shift though? You know? Okay, maybe Ben, do you have another perspective on this?
Narelle had a shift. Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, not, how do I say? It was a tangible shift when I feel like she started to come into her own emotions and really be able to like address them as a friend, as opposed to like really being like wrestling with it internally.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the time you started picking up BJJ and you really realized how to
I mean,
physically
honestly, on
wrestle.
that note, like it was also just genuinely taking away my hair color, taking away my wearing makeup, taking away like nice clothes for a while, so that I could remember who I was without these things and not care about them. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, on the subject of beauty standards, like, okay, I think it's two separate things, right? One is this whole beauty standard thing that there's no excuse in 2020, man. Like, you know, adhering to a certain standard of beauty or complexion or skin or, you know, melanin, like we're pushing back, you know, and I feel like it's going to hit a tipping point where enough people realize the detriment of what we're, you know, putting out there, and then people are going to realize that there's a new normal and that, you know, everyone needs to realize their own worth and beauty. But that aside, I think realizing also, let's talk about the individual, right? I feel like whenever you do feel bad about yourself and you try to have this denying, suppressing reaction, sometimes it's not a personal weakness. It really is a treatable illness. You know, we're going back to the mental health thing. I think that's when you know, the big question is like, how do you know if you're sad or actually have a mental health condition? And I think there's really no harm in getting it checked out. One of my greatest friends in the industry, PAYM, really talks about it. You know, it's just like the common flu. It's clinical depression is a very, very treatable thing. And so you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not going to go get meds for your flu. Very similar situation here.
Yeah.
You really have to think about it as such. And then I think you're on the road to recovery.
Yeah. How did you go about it then? Like, oh, sorry.
No. Okay, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go in.
Do it.
Yes.
On the point of like beauty standards, I think what I realized is like you can be really beautiful, but when you are just horrible and dark and sad on the inside, it shows. Like it shows in your stance, in your face.
There's a Roald Dahl comic, right, about that, I think.
The witches, is it?
Yeah, I love it.
The one where the nose grows.
Oh,
But
yes.
also, like, even if you feel like you're not living up to society's standards of beauty or whatever, like I have seen people who just radiate joy and radiate happiness, and somehow they are just so much more beautiful. Like it doesn't matter what they're wearing or what they look like or whether their skin is bad. It's like when they radiate joy from the inside, you can feel it. It's infectious. So focus on that rather than your looks.
Yeah. It's not just the looks. It's also, I mean, every person has a lot of qualities to bring to the table, and it's just about looking deep inside, right? And just being able to identify that, as opposed to just looking at the superficial, very edited photos as well. Um, sometimes. Yeah, so we actually have another question from Jun Xiang, who's asking about about deciding who to turn to when it comes to sharing your struggles. How do you decide, which friends to turn to or which people you can trust when it comes to this? Like, do you have a...
We are just like stalking the question right now.
Oh gosh, you guys, I can see you reading.
It's a really good question, man. Very, very often I do the exact same thing he says here, right? Like, I found myself very selective and hard to think of anyone I can turn to, especially when I scroll through my contact list. So it's a really real problem, and the end result of that is you just put your phone away and go like, I'm gonna be okay. I'll handle it myself. And my fiance is gonna nag at me so much for this, but I am the king of like self-diagnosing, and it's so bad because I'm no expert. But I just go like, this is my condition. She's like, stop it! Like, just like, let's talk, let's solve it. She's super practical about it, and so I always get like smacked around because of it, both intangibly and yeah. But I think, like I said just now, when you really open up to people, I feel like they have got such a bigger heart, even if it's just like colleagues or people that you just talk to, who I think have been around you physically right now. They know who you are, and it's also about love languages as well. I think that people understand you way better than you think, and it's just that first step, man, of like voicing out. Again, like Narelle said, you can have safe words, you can have like emojis, you can find an and sometimes that's like the only thing you need. Yeah, I'm like I don't know, I was like a small spoon guy until recently, or like a hugging guy, or like, but I fully embrace it, pun intended.
How about you, Narelle? I remember you mentioned that you actually went to visit a psychiatrist at some point. Like, how did that help you realize that you had to help yourself from there?
I mean, okay, just very quickly, I wanted to jump on a point to that previous question, which is honestly, because I think the question was asking about sometimes like going to a lot of people and then now being more selective about it. I think it's always about listening to your body. So there are certain times where you feel a need to just confide in one person and one person only, and you can dig a well with that person. But sometimes maybe that's not what the current situation needs. Maybe what you're feeling is a bit more surface but wider, and what you want is to actually just tell a lot of people very briefly about what's going on, and that will bring some sense of normalcy. So I think if you're struggling with like not knowing who to talk to, or feeling maybe some guilt where last time maybe you had more friends and maybe now you have less, like, don't feel any kind of guilt, don't doubt yourself, just trust your instinct and follow that, and that usually leads you to the right place. Because your body is, honestly, even things like depression is your body talking to you. It's telling you like, hey, there's something in your environment that is not making you very happy. But we are so used to yeah, we're so used to shoving it away, right? Like, let's say I'm feeling like crap today, but I need to go to work. I'll be like, okay, feelings, I can't deal with you right now. I need to make some money to live in this world. And we do that every day. We do that with everything. And the more we ignore it, the more they pile up. So I think when you start to really listen to your body, it will tell you what it needs to do. Yeah. And then to your psychiatry point, I think the biggest thing is just breaking the glass in the first part, right? Like that very first time where anyone admits that they have a mental issue is ridiculous. It took me years. So, I was telling Sabrina the last time, it took me years of like boyfriends and ex-boyfriends being like, you need to go to the doctor. And I'm like, no. And finally, one of them just booked it and dragged me there. And when I found out I was clinically diagnosed with like double depression, I was like, well, this world, man, like if I'm depressed, then screw y'all. I'm gonna, dig my own tunnel and whatever. So I actually tunneled even more when I got diagnosed, until it reached a point where I was like, either you die or you pick yourself back up, because there is no point in this anymore. And I refused to give up at that time. So I just dug my way back out and to where I am now.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks.
So good.
Yay.
100 A1 A-star student.
And then you too, yeah. you too.
Yeah, I think it's also about recognizing triggers. For me, like I think we had a sharing just now about someone who had an ex-colleague who he lost due to a mental condition, and
Mm.
I also had a friend who took his life. And these things sometimes, there's no triggers, there's no evidence, right?
Yeah.
They're super okay at one moment, and they will just hide it so well because they're so conditioned to do it. And the problem is, in society today, in social media, we normalize like unhealthy behavior. It's such a thing, right? And then you see memes come up about like, oh, like I am either man or woman, or I'm depressed. Like it's a checkbox thing. Like, it's like a joke. They pass it off as like, hey, it's just a joke. Everyone's depressed. Or we also normalize other very unhealthy behavior, and then suddenly you just don't know how to talk about it because it doesn't seem like something that is special. It just feels like it's you should, everyone goes through that. And I think also like, yeah, triggers can really come from anywhere. Just really sitting down with the person and really like giving them that time of the day. You can be that healing point as well. Anyone can. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's great. So another question that that's come in is so wow, there's a lot of cyberbullying that has been happening in especially a school setting. What is your take on this? The question is really, how can we solve this big issue? It is a big issue, but from your experience, how do you feel? How do you feel about this issue of cyberbullying?
I think, first of all, it needs to be something that is openly addressed, like at home, especially if we're talking about younger kids, right? Because children will naturally act out. I mean, that's how they find their values in life and in the world. But if, for example, parents are not aware or friends are not aware of the situation happening, then that's where it can really start to tunnel. So I think first things first is to really be able to normalize it, to understand that like these things happen everywhere. Everyone will face some kind of bullying in their lives. And how do we address it then? Like, how do we learn how to not be too affected by it? Or how do we learn how to stand up for it? And yeah, all these things just take a lot of conversation. And I mean, on top of that, you also just need parents and teachers to be extra aware to, now that you can't catch bullying in real life, you need to learn to see signs of it happening online. Yeah. Benjamin?
Yeah. I have also, at the same time, I've been a victim of quote unquote online bullying. I believe at times I've also been the bully. I think it's a very devious cyclic thing that I have also learned to acknowledge and apologize for. It was a really fun incident. I think about a year ago. Fun is the wrong word to use.
Go ahead.
I was doing a magazine shoot, and I think I was, yeah. So okay, full context. I was supposed to pose as Kurt Cobain, and that was the artistic direction, right? It was like they were referencing this image of Kurt Cobain. What he was doing, I think he was smoking in the image, and he was doing this with his hand. Obviously, the cigarette was there, right? Doing this, and then they show the image, and I was like, "Isn't this like?" I voiced out, "Isn't this like a gun?" They're like, "No, it's a cigarette. Just do it." So at that point, obviously, I had no recollection. I forgot that was the way he
Passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I had many opportunities to kind of like stop that from happening. I did not, and I think after the whole incident came out, yeah, I think people took offense to that. They felt like I was trivializing things for people. I let the community down. So obviously I apologized. It was, I straight away understood the gravity of my actions and stuff like that. And then I just started turning down opportunities to talk about mental health. Is that money?
Yeah.
He can yeah, Money can join if
Money is offended by my Kurt Cobain post. It's like, yeah. So I started turning down these opportunities to talk about mental health. I had worked, prior to that with Samaritans in Singapore. And after that, like, I was like, you know what? I am not the guy to do this. I'm not a spokesperson for this because now I've trivialized it. I've ruined it, So I started turning all these things down. And ironically, that whole situation put me in a super depressive hole. I got really smashed up by it. And it was one of those things I didn't talk about because I was like, well, obviously I messed up in this situation. It's my fault. I didn't mean to take the mickey out of, mental health. But, by sheer, whatever the situation, I did. And I was put in that situation. And interestingly enough, like, I think people recognize that. So they started reaching out, like, you must not be well, like, let's talk about it. And I think, end of the day, it's just about educating people around this, if I could learn, so can you and anyone else, the kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's having compassion around this and like letting people learn new languages, learn the new norms. Even with cyberbullying, figuring out how to deal with cyberbullying is such a last decade thing or last 2 decades thing. But it's really important that we have that discourse and we learn how to address it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's been there since Friendster and MySpace,
Friendster!
Yeah. Exactly. It's been a long time.
Age.
I know. Anyway, yeah. So, well, moving on from the Kurt Cobain topic. So, music. So, how has music and art and what you do helped you work through your mental well-being or work through your your challenges? Maybe Narelle, you can start.
I guess it definitely just gives you an outlet to be able to, I don't know, express whatever you want to, because as humans, we just want to be understood, right? Like, we want to be able to share emotions and share experiences and share feelings. So for me, like, when it comes to the creative work, it brings me a lot of satisfaction to be able to present that, to be able to share myself, because sometimes I feel like I'm not so good at communicating with people. I'm not like the best friend or something, but if I get an opportunity to create like something, then I feel like, okay, well, this is me. If you like it, then hey, maybe we're not that different and stuff. So that's, I guess, how it helps me. Yeah. And also sometimes you end up like, because you don't know what you're writing, but when you write it, there's a time where it feels right and it feels wrong. And when you finish it, then you look back and you're like, I understand now why I was feeling this way or what I'm actually feeling, which happens with me, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Ben?
Music is so incredibly personal to everyone, right? I feel like everyone has a different relationship to their 10 favorite songs. Sometimes we don't even know why this song makes us feel a certain way. And there is also power in even just like writing down why a song makes you feel a certain way, because music is therapy for so many people. I know a lot of professional sports people who curate playlists for specific competitions, actors who curate playlists for certain roles and characters. It really gets you in that zone. Music has that power. People who suffer from dementia as well, they do art and music therapy. It's such a great resource, and yet we don't think about it because we're overstimulated these days with TikToks and Facebook scrolling thingies, and everything, and Netflix, and it's all there, right? There's just overstimulation, and therefore, like, again, clearing that pathway and just like being distraction free and focusing on your emotions with one stimulus is very powerful. I recommend everyone like stand in the middle of your room, put on a good pair of earphones, and play a song and move, and just move to the music, because again, like that's a very easy form of therapy you can do. A very early thing that piano teachers do with kids is put them in a room, and if they play the piano fast, they run fast. If they play it slow, they run slow. Learning how to recognize like how music brings out emotions within you, and once you can sort of decipher that for yourself, like, I'm in a bad mood, I need to put on some mood booster stuff, that's a big part of my playlist now, just like mood booster, really like just jovial things. Ain't nobody got time for sad stuff, So yeah, like recognizing that power of art and therapy.
So if you had one song, both of you, if you had one song to recommend to our listeners right now, what would it be? What's your current feel-good song?
Narelle's Blue. Go ahead. Stream it now on Spotify.
There's now I feel like I need to plug you back.
Don't it?
I mean, you can plug each other and then add another song.
Definitely not that Jason Derulo nonsense song on TikTok. What's that?
Oof.
Oh my gosh.
Why does it sound like river dance?
Oh no.
Okay, anyway. There's this artist called Jack Garrett. And he has this song called Better. And it's such I love it. That gets me going every time. Yeah.
Nice. And Ben, do you have
I also picked Jack Garrett. What's that song he has? Surprise Yourself.
Mm.
He's just a good guy. He's
He's
really
a good guy. Go stream him now.
just a good guy with amazing beard. Just that beard is ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, like, but the song I always go back to is like Switchfoot's Dare You to Move. It's super cheesy.
wow.
But like it's like 2000 where
Yeah,
like
yeah.
gets me moving.
Something differ so much more or something. Yeah.
Yes.
That one.
Yes.
Okay. And final question before we run out. So on a regular basis, what is your self-care routine to take care of your mental well-being? Narelle, go.
Okay. I like to meditate. I try and meditate every day. Sometimes no, most times no. But it's become a practice that I really, really love. And it always helps me calm down, find my center. It helps me to look into myself and see like what is it that I have been blocking or how is it that I'm really feeling. And it actually just keeps me really calm, like way more zen. And then I journal very actively, so it's always open on my com, and every time I feel like I just go in and just bleh. And it's been very interesting to see like the way even my writing or the thoughts in my head have progressed since I started doing this like 2 years ago. And I'm also like not very neat, so it's like I rather just have one thing where I just blab, you know. And then I also have this like mood calendar which I like to use, and when I feel like it or like on different days, I will tend to color in a color for each mood, and this helps me track kind of just where I've been. So for example, if there are a few days where I've been feeling down, then I know like, okay, maybe it happens once a month at this time, or maybe I think, oh, I've been sad for a week, but then I look, it's only been 2 days, and I'm like, okay, don't worry so much about it. It's okay, it'll pass. So yeah, I mean, those are my main core, practices.
Nice.
Great. And Ben?
They punch
I'm a
things.
I'm a bit of an achievement junkie. Like I just started yoga and now I'm like, why am I so stiff? You know, so like I start really getting into like charting like little small wins in your day. Like now I can touch my toes without crying, or now my knee is straight. You know, so I think picking up a new challenge has been really, really rewarding. I'm trying to get back into the pool, and that's really been always like a really nice cathartic thing for me. But also, like I said just now, like I know I'm gonna get sad. I know for sure. Like I can feel a trigger coming. I'm like, oh, here it is. It's back again. And so I really literally allow myself like 2 hours in bed. I'll be like, that's your safe space. Just jump in. 2 hours. We set a timer. I end up falling asleep most of the time. But I get up and I always like I set that timer deliberately to tell myself like, accept those emotions. Your emotions are a big part of you. Then get up and be awesome after that. You know.
Yeah.
I think just really being real with yourself.
Cool. All right. If you have any final last words for our audience, this is your last chance.
So I feel like so many good questions though.
Yeah, so many. There's so much. But we are gonna maybe save these questions, and then maybe at some point, maybe on your IG story or something, you can feel free to answer them. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to really quickly answer this one that just simply asks like, how do you help someone who doesn't want to receive help? And I think it's just a misnomer sometimes. Like, we don't need to, like, what is help, right? We don't need to give advice. Again, we're so prone to giving advice, especially when someone is down. But really, it's such a cliche thing. But they just really want someone there to listen. And so don't really feel like you have to solve all their problems. You're not the truth is we're not qualified for it. But we can absolutely point them in the right direction. We absolutely should. And even offering to go down to see a GP or to see someone with them, just dropping them off, like what Narelle said, when your ex dragged you. You know, I mean, it's sometimes
for me it had to be that way.
Yeah, for her, I mean, everyone's journey is different. You know, so like, again, we don't have to be the one diagnosing, the one to administer like that help, but we just need to be there for them, have a listen, you know, and keep the focus on a good well-being.
Yeah. And just
and I think good way of making it easy to talk about mental health is to just be really upfront and casual about it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like a really heavy topic. You don't have to sidestep around it. Sometimes when you just
Candles then put down and
go
then
Oof. You and me, we need to talk.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and then that's exactly why we're having more and more conversations surrounding this topic. And I'm so glad that both of you have joined us today to talk about your mental well-being and your own experiences, and even sharing advice with our audience. So thank you so much. Thank you again, Ben and Narelle.
Thanks for having us.
Have a
Yeah.
good night, and have a good
Take
rest.
care, guys.
Take care,
Stream Jack
everyone.
Garrett.
Thank you for joining us. Stream Jack Garrett. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So quick. How do I go?
Oh,
Bye-bye.
she really left. Okay, I guess we leave. Bye.